Hello friends, welcome back to the next session on operations planning, scheduling and control. Now let's begin with our learning. In this particular session, we'll be understanding and dealing with the concept of orienting manpower for essential performance measures. The learning objectives. At the end of this particular session, the learner will be able to understand how do we define or what do we mean by manpower for essential performance measures and what are the various activities that have been undertaken for orienting the manpower for essential performance. So initially, let's understand what do we mean by orienting the manpower for essential performance measures. The manpower planning is of a certain nature which always involves the involvement of a man, that is, a human being which is into existence. In terms of an organization, they are called as the human resource for the organization. And hence, when we are running a particular business or a certain activity, those particular business activities are being conducted or in coordination with the HR department, finance department, the marketing department, the operations department, and so on. And hence the manpower planning, that is the major component of the human resource planning, is been related with the putting the right number of people at the right place at the right time and for doing the right things. So when a series of activities is needed to be conducted in a production department, one has to see that what quantity, quality and skilled labor will be required and how those particular labor will be employed to conduct the activities in a very effective way. So for those particular concern, what we have to do is one has to put the right people, right number of people. That is, one has to identify what number of people will be required at what level, what should be the skill set that has been required for that particular people, and where the people has to be placed at what time. So doing all those particular things, there is a requirement of number of people at the right place at the right time and at the right people at the right place is also essentially required for the essential performance management measures. These particular activities are being done to achieve the long-term as well as the short-term goals and objectives of the organization. So how those particular objectives can be met, they can be achieved or they can be satisfied and fulfilled. For those particular concerns, the manpower planning is essentially required. Now let's understand what is the procedure for manpower planning assessment. Analyzing the manpower inventory. Initially, the organization has to identify or they has to assess what amount or quality of inventory, that is the manpower inventory, is available with them. A human resource is always a resource and asset to the organization, and hence one has to see that whatever skill, quality, knowledge the individual possesses and what is his ability based on those particular concern, his assessment of a certain concern with respect to the manpower is needed to be taken into account, and then the analysis of manpower requirement is needed to be taken into consideration. Making the future manpower forecast. So based on the future manpower forecast, one has to analyze about what is the availability of current labor and what will be the requirement of the labor in the near future. Development of the employment programs. So various programs with related to employment opportunities, creating the skill or increasing the skill of the employees, various training and development activities. All those activities are needed to be taken into account, and hence those particular activities are needed to be there in a very effective way. So various employment programs are needed to be taken into account to see that the skill ability of the individual increases over a period point of time. The next concept we need to apply or the procedure that is taken into account is designing the training programs. So various training programs with respect to the employees who are available in the organization, the employees at the shop floor level, at the lower level management, at the middle level management, for those particular concerns, the training programs are needed to be assigned. And hence, with those particular concerns or these particular procedures, the manpower planning assessment can be undertaken. Now let's understand what are the steps in manpower planning. That is, analyzing the current manpower inventory, making the future manpower forecast, developing the employment programs, designing the program are the various steps in creating the manpower plan. Now let's understand what do we mean by the importance of manpower planning. The manpower planning helps to increase the managerial functions. The managerial functions as to planning, organizing, directing, staffing, coordinating, controlling, decision making, all those functions of management or the principles of management which is needed to be taken into account by a certain manager or a particular person in the organization. all those functions have been conducted in a very effective way, and manpower planning aims to satisfy or fulfill all those objectives. Efficient utilization of the optimum, that is efficient and optimum utilization of the scarce and available resources is always needed to be taken into account. The resources or the factors of production with respect to the land, labor, capital, enterprise, and resources are needed to be controlled in a very effective way and needed to be utilized in a coordinated way. Motivation to the employees or the peers or the participants of the organization is essentially required, and certain measures for developing the motivation always needs to be taken into consideration. Better human relations. Human relations with respect to the inter-department transactions, inter-department exchange of labor, all those activities are needed to be in an effective way, and a positive approach and a healthy environment is needed to be taken into account, which increases the higher productivity of the organization. So the manpower planning always tries or aims to increase the productivity in the organization, not only related to manufacturing, but related to all the departments. So, what does the manpower planning aims at? It highlights the concepts or the situations of shortages and supplies that can be identified. So, the manpower planning aims to identify where there is an amount of labor or the manpower available in a shortage or available in an abundant, that is a surplus situation. And creating a balanced structured situation between the manpower is the ultimate aim of the manpower planning. Recruitment and selection programs together are being conducted. So the recruitment programs for the newly entering people or the newly hired people, and selection and training programs that is to be conducted for the existing people. So once the person is been uh, appointed in a particular organization or a particular department, certain training programs are also needed to be identified and they are needed to be conducted. The concept of overstaffing is completely needed to be avoided by the certain manpower planning department, which we need to see that there is no excessive labor cost or a burden on the organization's financial department. Availability of the available talents. So the manpower planning also needs to identify what is the available talent in the organization and how those particular talent will be effectively utilized, to see that those particular talent are being effectively implemented, to see that the organization's capability, output or productivity increases over a period of time. Growth and diversification of business. The business that we are aiming for or that we are doing on a daily basis, it should be in a diversified way and always at a growing or an increasing stage, which helps to increase or bring in the stability in the organization. Now let's summarize what we have learned in this particular session. In this particular session, we have understood that the meaning or definition of orientation of manpower planning for essential performance measurement. We have also seen the importance and what are the various activities that are needed to be implemented on a day-to-day basis for an effective manpower orientation or planning. I hope you must have enjoyed the learning. Thank you for your patience listening. Thank you.